Hi, I'm Hal Roberts. This is Bridge City News. Here's some of the top stories we've been following. As firefighters continue to battle over 110 wildfires in the northern part of the province, more wildfire smoke has made its way to southern Alberta. An impressive traveling exhibit has made its way to Lethbridge, featuring the works of Vincent van Gogh. And Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, at a stop in Vancouver, says under the Trudeau government, young people may never afford to buy a home.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Thanks so much for joining us. Environment Canada issued a special air quality statement for Lethbridge today due to a lot of the wildfire smoke making its way to our region. The air quality index was at 7 for most of the day. The province says there are still 116 wildfires burning in Alberta. 16 of those fires, mostly in the northern part of the province, are burning out of control. 41 of the blazes are now held. More than 2,600 firefighting personnel from around the world have helped to battle the 850 wildfires our province has experienced so far this year. Cody Crone is a homesteader who lives in the Pacific Northwest. He's also known as Mr. Wrangler Star on YouTube. Now, his videos receive millions of views each and every month. He and his wife Jessica have experienced a lot of wildfires and wildfire smoke and offer some tips now on how to best protect yourself when the air quality is not great.
One of the things that we have done, since we live in the urban interface and we are constantly having wildland smoke, is we've invested in some of these great big HEPA filters. I don't think the cord's going to reach here. These are Kenmore. We got these at Sears. I don't even know if Sears is in business anymore, but they have giant HEPA filters inside, and we run them on high all the time when we have fires. So we'll close up the house as much as possible, close the bedrooms, and just confine the living space, and we'll run both of these on high all the time. If you do need to go out, the K95, we all have those probably around the house from COVID. Those are suitable to stop the particulates that come from organic matter and wildland smoke.
Now, I heard they were not good enough, but you should wear them anyways because they're going to protect something.
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not, nothing is going to be perfect. The best thing to do is to go to the beach and get out of the environment. Right. But for me, those things are tiresome and tedious to wear. I just don't like them very well. So if I'm going to go outside and I have to do something, I will put them on, but I'm not going to wear them in the house.
You know, we need more rain in many parts of the province to help put out the wildfires and to clear our air. Jeanette Rocher is now with an early peek at the forecast. Jeanette, will there be any moisture in our forecast for southwestern Alberta anytime soon?
Well, you're so right about needing the rain with all this widespread smoke, Hal. And yeah, it looks like we could see a slight chance of showers this evening with a risk of a thunderstorm. Same thing for Saturday as well. Saturday afternoon, we're looking at that chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm, but quite a bit of widespread smoke as well. So hopefully the rain will clear some things up. Also looking at a wind from the west tomorrow at 20 to 40 kilometers per hour, but warm temperatures. Look at that, 28 degrees with a humidex of 29. So it looks like our Saturday is looking like a little bit of everything. A little bit of sunshine in the morning if you can see it through the smoke, and then some rain in the afternoon, possible lightning and thunder, and high humidity and some heat there. So looking forward to that this weekend. I'll be back later in the show to give you the 7-day and national forecast.
Great. Thanks so much, Jeanette. The East Prairie Métis settlement in northern Alberta lost around 70 structures due to wildfires this year. Officials say at least 40 homes that people lived in were completely destroyed, with the damage estimated at around $11.5 million. Carol Johnston went back to where her home once stood to reminisce about what once was.
My family says, why don't you come home now? Why don't you retire and just come home? Weymouth Lake is home. This is my home. How can I leave? You know, I mean, I don't have a home right now, but you know what I mean. Yeah, this is my land. And we're going to have a beautiful home here in the end. You know that when it gets here, it's going to be beautiful. And it'll be on top of all our good memories, right? Because this is where it'll be. And that's where all our memories are, in that hole. But this time we're going to be fire smart. All those trees are going to get knocked down. Because what are popular, they're just weeds, big weeds, eh? So might as well knock them down. Then we'll have way more lawn to mow, which is a good thing. House was there, the deck come out to here, then we had the covered porch was just on the other side of that lupus there. It was a beautiful big home. We tried to look after it well.
Hydro-Quebec crews are working to restore power to 170,000 customers after severe thunderstorms, including at least one tornado, hit the province. Most outages are in the Montreal areas, as well north and south of the city. Utility crews say it could take up to 2 days to restore electricity. Meanwhile, cleanup work is continuing today in the Ottawa suburb of Barrhaven as a tornado in the region caused damage to many homes, at least 12 of them. Residents were shocked while looking at the remains of totaled fences, blown out windows, and ripped off roofs. Fortunately, there have been no reports of injuries so far. A spokesperson for Ottawa Fire Services is warning residents in the Barrhaven area to avoid the fallen hydro poles and damaged trees as debris is being cleaned up in the aftermath of the storm.
It came down really fast, sky turned black, things started turning, and then debris was in the air. Our station at 47 saw this happening. They made their way here in minutes. Multiple houses damaged. We're looking at approximately 50 houses that are damaged. Different types of damage, roofs ripped off, cars damaged. We went knocking on hundreds of doors, checking on residents. We haven't found a single injury yet in this area. There's no gas leak that I've seen in this area yet, but to be safe, firefighters have shut down both. At the moment, call your insurance company if there's damage to your house, but downed wires, always treat them as live. Don't try and move them. That's a big one right now. As well as heavy forested areas, stay out of them. Damaged trees can still fall.
Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in Vancouver talking about the wildfires, cost of living, and the end of the BC port strike. Poilievre says housing costs under the Trudeau government are spiraling out of control and more needs to be done to make life more affordable for Canadians.
Housing costs under Justin Trudeau have doubled. Rent has doubled. The average mortgage payment has doubled. The needed down payment for the average home has doubled. It now takes 25 years in Canada's biggest city to save up for a down payment. It used to be, before Trudeau, 25 years is what it took to pay off a mortgage. Now it's what it takes just to get a mortgage. 9 in 10 of our young people believe they will never afford a home. This is the first generation of youth in Canadian history that has given up on home ownership.
The Calgary Stampede is now in its 8th day. The greatest outdoor show on earth wraps up on Sunday. Now, Bridge City News spent some time at the Stampede grounds this week and found a couple of Southern Albertans to talk to. One is Cheryl Crowchief, who's a member of the Blackfoot Confederacy and organizer of the Stampede's powwow competition. It just happens to be one of Canada's largest organized powwow events. She says competitors start at the age of 13 and that it's the youth who really benefit from competing.
Our kids normally grow up from 9 months old, babies, dancing in our families because it's such a large part of our culture, because of healing, because of community, because of respect. There's a whole bunch of factors that come into play when we're raising our kids, and powwow is a large part of that.
It must be such a confidence booster too, as well, for these kids.
Oh yeah, I have watched some children come out and dance, and they make the pay window for the first time, and the ecstatic look on their face. The next powwow I see them, the confidence is there strutting around, and it's awesome.
The 2-day powwow event wrapped up on Thursday with dancers from all over Canada, the United States and beyond competing for thousands of dollars of cash and prizes. Now, while at the Stampede, our crew also found a local artist who specializes in Western and wildlife portraits. Lethbridge's very own Karen Coe showed off her acrylic masterpieces on display at the Western Oasis in the BMO Centre.
I've been a bit of a horse addict my entire life, so I obviously painting what I love. All animals really, but horses are my thing. So
Kind of your muse, maybe?
Yeah, I think just following your passion, and I love speaking with kids, and I've done a few classes even, and I think hearing my story too, if it's something that you're really passionate about, don't give up. I mean, it's something that you can pursue and do as a career, and it's exciting when you can do something you love.
Once again, the Calgary Stampede wraps up this Sunday, July 16th. Be sure to check out all of our coverage from the greatest outdoor show on earth this Saturday and Sunday on Bridge City News Weekend Edition. Premier Daniel Smith says Alberta has begun bilateral talks with British Columbia on expanding Canadian natural gas's reach in the global market. Smith says she and her BC counterpart David Eby began the discussion a couple of weeks ago. She says they're exploring leveraging Article 6 of the UN Paris Accord, which allows Canada to gain carbon credits for reducing emissions abroad.
When I met with him at the Western Premiers Conference, I've seen him quite a bit in the last month because I met with him at the Western Premiers Conference and we just spent some time at the Council of the Federation. But we did have a bilateral discussion about creating a working group between Alberta and British Columbia where we can become aligned on that issue in particular of LNG export, expanding it, and getting credit for reducing emissions abroad using Article 6. That was one of the main outcomes that we're trying to achieve with our discussions. I can tell you that I've been talking with all of the premiers about this, that we need to identify multiple ports that we would be able to expand and develop. I mean, I think that there's more opportunity with Port of Prince Rupert. There's more opportunity with working collaboratively with Yukon and Alaska to go to Skagway. There's opportunity to work with our partners in Northwest Territories and Nunavut to go to Gray's Bay.
Voters in Calgary Heritage can now cast their ballots in the federal by-election. Registered voters have until Monday night to vote in the advance polls for one of the 8 candidates. The federal riding was left vacant following Conservative MP Bob Benson's resignation in October of last year. The by-election will take place on July the 24th. The Lethbridge District Exhibition is partnering up with Pure Power Wrestling to bring the heat during Whoop Up Days next month. PPW's Hot Summer Night Wrestling event will be held in the new Agri-Food Hub and Trade Centre on August the 25th. Mike Workington, the CEO of the exhibition, says it's pretty exciting to be able to partner up with PPW.
It carries on a rich tradition of having wrestling events here at Lethbridge and District Exhibition, going back to the old days of Stampede Wrestling and even some WWF events here in the South Pavilion. So it's an exciting addition for us. August 25th, tickets are online. You can get them through whoopupdays.ca or purepowerwrestling.ca.
Wrestler Sydney Steele says it's important to have people come together for Whoop Up Days so that they can provide entertainment the whole family can enjoy.
I've been with Pure Power Wrestling from the beginning, so for over 12 years now, we have really wanted to bring professional wrestling to Whoop Up Days. We've been working hard to continue the tradition of Stampede Wrestling, dating all the way back to the 1950s, of bringing entertainment like professional wrestling to these major community celebrations.
Staff with the exhibition told us additional details like live music will be announced soon for Whoop Up Days. The impressive paintings of Vincent van Gogh are shining brightly at the NMAC Centre. Members of the Lethbridge media received a first-hand look at the traveling exhibit called Beyond Van Gogh on Friday. Video journalist Micah Quinn has the details on the exhibit that has made its way around 60 North American cities in the past 2.5 years.
We have sold over 5 million tickets.
Cutting-edge projection technology is bringing the paintings of popular artist Vincent van Gogh to life. The exhibit took about a week to fully set up and features over 300 pieces of Van Gogh's artwork.
First of all, you would have to travel the world over to see all these pieces in one place. So this is incredibly powerful in the sense that it really brings the paintings to you.
Vincent van Gogh was one of the most famous painters in Western art history, but had a troubled life dealing with mental illness. In 1888, he cut off his left ear, and just 2 years later, he committed suicide after he shot himself in the chest with a revolver.
The letters between him and his brother Theo are so impactful, and it just brings so much compassion for some of the reasons why he became unhealthy mentally. It was a product of many things, and you can really explore that in this exhibition and bring the humanity back.
The exhibit is projected on 30,000 square feet of space and is the largest immersive experience in the country.
We're always looking for ways to benefit and have economic impact on this city. So we're hoping, we know it was in Calgary a couple years ago, but we're still hoping that people who maybe missed that are going to want to come back or want to see it again. So, and there's lots of other things going on in the city too. So hopefully it can be a little bit of a tourism stop and jump in here and take a peek and then go on and check out other things. So yeah.
The Beyond Van Gogh traveling exhibit will be on display in the Lethbridge NMAC Centre until August 6th. For Bridge City News, I'm Micah Quinn.
The Nikiyuko Japanese Garden celebrated its 56th anniversary in our city today. The Lethbridge Group has provided various entertainment for the community over the past 5 decades, including the Winter Light Festival, which welcomed over 30,000 people last year. Staff with Nikiyuko told us the garden was built to recognize contributions made by Lethbridge citizens with Japanese ancestry and is a symbol of international friendship. The TV series Big Bang Theory made many of us really appreciate scientists and what they can really contribute to society. Professor Surya Das from the University of Lethbridge is a real-life Dr. Sheldon Cooper who studies quantum physics and related theories. Dr. Das explains how helpful quantum physics can be.
To answer the fundamental questions of nature, which as human beings we have always been curious about for thousands and thousands of years, like, for example, where did we come from, where are we going, what's the universe made up of? So to answer these questions, we have to invoke quantum physics because that's the fundamental thing. So if we want to ask fundamental questions, we have to go to the fundamental theories of nature or fundamental ideas.
Make sure you catch the full interview with Professor Surya Das and BCN's Naveen Day coming up later in our broadcast. The war between Ukraine and Russia continues. According to the United Nations, tens of thousands of soldiers have lost their lives. More than 9,100 civilians have also been killed, and around 25,000 civilians have been wounded. Millions have also been displaced since the war began back in February of 2022. Ukrainian civilians are now speaking out, describing the torture many have endured in Russian prisons.
Some civilians have been detained for weeks or months. Others remain in captivity with no end in sight. Olyena Yakupova, the wife of a Ukrainian soldier, was detained for 5 months in Russian-occupied territory. She's now being treated for the injuries sustained at the hands of Russian soldiers. Yakupova says she and other prisoners were used as slave labor, forced at gunpoint to dig trenches near the front lines.
Люди эти отработают, кто выживет, кто не заболеет, больных пристрелят, кто выживет, тех увезут где-то в среднюю полосу России.
This image shows the trenches Yakupova and other prisoners dug near Zaporizhia, where they were held. Former prisoners also describe being forced to dig mass graves nearby. The Russians have also traded civilians in exchange for their own captured soldiers, another violation of international law. That's how Victoria Andriusha was released. Andriusha was held inside Russia for 6 months. The school teacher says she was accused of spreading anti-Russian propaganda in the classroom. She says she was beaten and tortured in detention.
Мене закривали в окремій там камері, в такій підпалювали папер, і, ну, тобто папір вони підпалювали, і відповідно говорили, типу, що ось ми зараз запустимо там газ, тобто ти зараз згориш. Були моменти, коли вони погрожували, що навіть приносили якісь там інструменти металеві, щось там було ще, що ми тебе зараз будемо там різати по частинах, ну, тобто твоє тіло будемо там четвертувати.
A UN report found at least 77 Ukrainian civilians have been summarily executed in Russian custody, but former prisoners say the numbers are likely higher.
Praying that war comes to an end very soon. Wow. Well, we've also been praying for some rain here in southwestern Alberta to clear out some of that poor air quality from the wildfire smoke. Hopefully some rain will help. Complete weather details are coming up. You know, many areas of southern Alberta have seen poor air quality due to the wildfire smoke making its way here. Jeanette Roche is now with a full look at the weather forecast. Jeanette, any chance we'll see some of that rain this weekend to help clear the air a little bit?
Yeah, well, Hal, it does look like we could see some showers this evening along with the risk of a thunderstorm. Same thing as we get into Saturday afternoon, and which is much needed since we are also forecasted to see a lot of widespread smoke in the area. High of 28 degrees, though, on Saturday with a humidex of 29 as we get into Sunday. Sunny Sunday, there we go. That's what I'm calling it. High of 29 degrees as well. And then we'll see those showers return. We're looking at a 40% chance on Monday with a high of 28. And then sunshine for the rest of the week. Hopefully that smoke will not be back. 26 for a high both on Tuesday and Wednesday. And look at that, next Thursday all the way up to a high of 30 degrees. So it's going to be a hot one for sure. Average high for this time of year, 26, average low 10 degrees, 35. That was our high temperature back in 1953. And it was only 5 degrees in 2005. And that was the record low. 5:39, that's when the sun rose this morning. Sunset this evening at 9:35 p.m. So we're just under 16 hours of daylight, about 15 hours and 50 26 minutes. Okay, on the west coast, we're looking at sunshine in Victoria, 26 degrees, but 21 near the water. Fairly light winds as well, but a little bit windier. In that Juan de Fuca Strait, more like 30K winds. 25 in Vancouver. The further inland you go, we're looking at 30 degrees. High humidex as well. Humidex is 30. 25 for a high in Edmonton. Edmonton looking at widespread smoke. Calgary looking at sunshine in the morning and then rain in the afternoon and a risk of thunderstorms. 24 for a high there. As we get to the rest of the prairies here, 23 for a high in Saskatoon. Mix of sun and cloud. I should also mention that there is that plume of near surface smoke that's kind of accumulating over southern Saskatchewan, and that's caused by the wildfires coming from the northwest there. So it is sort of wreaking havoc in these little areas here, particularly in southern Saskatchewan. But as I was saying, 23 for high in Saskatoon, 22 for a high in Regina, and Winnipeg could see some showers on Saturday as well with a high of 23 degrees. That smoke should be remaining throughout most of the weekend in southern Saskatchewan there. As we look at the central part of the country, Toronto looking at a high of 26 degrees, looking at rain with risk of thunderstorms. Rain also expected in Ottawa following that Thursday tornado in parts of Ottawa there. We're actually looking at not a bad weekend ahead of us, but rain on Saturday, 29 for a high, and a high of 28 degrees in Montreal with mainly sunny skies. As we look to Atlantic Canada, Fredericton, high of 24 degrees, rain and thunderstorms. Chance of rain, actually looking at 2 to 4 millimeters of rain in Halifax, 24 for a high, 27 for a high in Charlottetown. Also seeing some risk of thunderstorm there, and 22 for a high, 25 rather, for a high in St. John's, Newfoundland. That's more like it. Mix of sun and cloud there. So there you have it. That is your forecast.
The Canadian Real Estate Association is downgrading its sales forecast for the year as rising interest rates is affecting potential buyers. The association expects a 6.8% decrease in the number of properties changing hands this year from last year. In its April forecast, CREA predicted 492,674 properties would be sold this year. That is down 1.1% from last year. It is now forecasting sales of just over 464,000 as interest rates continue to weigh on borrowing costs and buyer sentiment. Stats Canada says manufacturing sales rose 1.2% in May to $72.9 billion. The rebound from an overall decline of 0.1% in April was largely due to sales of chemical products. Chemical products sales rose 4.8% in May to $5.9 billion. They were boosted by higher sales of pesticides, fertilizer, and other agricultural products in Alberta. Manufacturing sales also got a life from an increase in pharmaceutical and medicine product sales in Ontario. Close to 1,000 workers at London's Gatwick Airport have voted to strike in a dispute over pay. The union says baggage handlers and check-in staff will walk off the job for 4 days as of July 28th and again on August the 4th. Gatwick is London's second busiest airport next to Heathrow, with its focus during the summer on flights to Mediterranean beach resorts. Experts say the strike will impact hundreds of thousands of British vacationers. Now, here's a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 15 points on the day to finish at 20,262. The Dow was up 113 points to 34,509. The S&P 500 was down 4 on the day to 4505, and the Nasdaq was down 24 points to 14,113. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down $1.47 to $75.42 US per barrel. Natural gas was down a cent to $2.54 US. Gold was down $5.31 on the day to $19.55.21 US an ounce, and silver was up 7 cents to $24.95 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $11.37 per bushel, barley's at $9.42, canola's at $18.48, and corn is at $8.45 per bushel. Live cattle August contract was up $3.28 to $180.18. Feeder cattle August contract was up $1.65 to $246.65, and lean hogs were down 38 cents to $101.98. The Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours to 75.66 US. We have some breaking news for you this hour. Lethbridge police are investigating a sudden death after a body was discovered inside of a storage shed earlier today at the McDonald's along the 500 block of University Drive. Staff with LPS say the investigation is ongoing and no further details will be released at this time. We'll update you with more information once it becomes available. Quantum physics can have a huge impact in our everyday lives and in a wide variety of ways. A professor of theoretical physics, Professor Surya Das from the University of Lethbridge, will explain shortly in an interview with BCN's Naveen Day. Listen, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to drop us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. We'd love to hear from you.
Here's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar. Street Wheelers Car Club in Lethbridge presents their annual Street Machine Weekend, taking place July 14th to the 16th. Make it a fun family event Friday night as all kinds of vintage, classic, sport, and muscle cars and trucks cruise down Mayor McGrath. Then on Saturday at the Exhibition Park Grandstand, enjoy the loud, raw power of these vehicles as they race for the fastest time in the grand tradition of drag racing. Tickets are $10 per person and those 13 and under are free. Then finish the weekend on Sunday with the ultimate show and shine showcase taking place in downtown Lethbridge at Galt Gardens. So much to see and do at Street Wheelers Street Machine Weekend. Lethbridge Legal Guidance is a non-profit society offering free legal advice to low-income Southern Albertans. It holds clinics on Tuesdays from 5 to 7 p.m. by appointment only. Some of the areas the society assists in include family, criminal, traffic, immigration, EI, and other issues. To book an appointment, call 403-380-6338. And for more information, visit lethbridgelegalguidance.ca. And that's today's Bridge City News Community Calendar.